A lot of people get stuck in one path because they are too afraid or too proud to pivot, but not Arnold. When something was not working or when he hit a wall, he shifted gears without hesitation. It is like when he realized his acting career was hitting a bit of a ceiling in the late 1990s. Instead of sticking with the same formula, he transitioned into politics, which no one really saw coming. It was a complete 180-degree change.
Empowered Liion roars so loud, no fear in this crowd. Passion turns to power now, living life so proud.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Future Builders podcast by Empowered Liion.
This channel is about guiding you to live a life you desire by integrating your passion into your career.
We want to show you how you can make enough money while doing what you truly love. It is not a myth.
And we are doing this right now.
Yay!
Daniel, you know what? I think I have finally built up enough courage to sign up for that 21st kilometer half marathon.
Really well? I think it's about time for you. No, I've been waiting for this moment. I was starting to wonder if you were going to stay stuck at that 10 kilometers forever.
Hello, do not underestimate that 10 kilometers. It took me a few months to get comfortable with it, but now that I'm running it regularly, I figured it is time to push myself a little bit more. I mean, if you can do a few half marathons, what is stopping me, right?
I tell you what, Belle, you are actually more than ready. You are going to love the half marathon. There is something about that distance. It is like not just a test of endurance, but it is mental too. Also, once you cross that finish line, right, you feel like you can take on anything. The first one that you have is always special.
That is what everyone keeps saying. It is like the half marathon is the rite of passage for runners. But honestly, it is more about just proving to myself that I can push beyond what I thought was possible.
And that is exactly what I love about running. It's not about physical, it's all mental strength. And speaking of which, you know who is the master of that kind of mindset?
Yes, exactly. He is Arnold Schwarzenegger. No one else quite like him. The man just embodies discipline and the whole idea of breaking barriers, from bodybuilding to Hollywood to becoming a governor of California. He has achieved everything. And now he's out here sharing his formula for success with the world. That new book of his, Be Useful, Seven Tools for Life, lays it all out.
Yeah, I've heard about the book. It sounds like it is more than just one of those common motivational reads. It's practical, right? He actually gives real advice based on his own life experiences.
That is what makes it stand out. The seven tools he talks are all about the principles he actually lived by. Today, I thought we could go through them and really dig into how Arnold applied this tool into his life. And let's be honest, there is a lot we can pull from it and apply to our own running journeys and life goals in general.
I am all for that, Belle. Arnold's story is so much more than just a guy with big muscles. His mental toughness and work ethic are next level, I tell you. And as runners, we know how much mindset plays into pushing past those mental walls. So I'm really excited to dive into these seven tools and see how we can translate them into our daily grind, both on and off the track.
Absolutely. Whether it is tackling our next race or working toward personal milestones, I think there's actually a lot we can learn from his approach. So let us get into the seven tools Arnold swears by. But hey, once I finish that half marathon, I'm going to be looking for a full marathon next. Just saying.
You can definitely do it, Belle. I mean, you have already tackled the 10 kilometers. So what is a half marathon, right? And after that, a full marathon is definitely within reach. You just have to keep pushing those limits. And if anyone is the poster child for breaking limits, it is Arnold.
So, before we jump into the tools, let us take a moment to really understand where Arnold Schwarzenegger started, because his origin story sets the stage for everything we are going to talk about.
Yes, and it is important because when we think about someone like Arnold, it is easy to see the final product, this global icon. But the reality is, he started from pretty much nothing. He grew up post-war in Austria, in a tiny village where life was rough. His family didn't have much, not even running water, you know what? And his father was a strict former military man, and Arnold faced a lot of discipline and even some abuse. It is very hard to imagine coming out of that environment with any hope, let alone the belief that you could become something great.
And it is the early struggle that makes his achievements even more mind-blowing. Arnold was not handed success. He made it happen with sheer willpower and vision. And that brings us to his first tool, which he says was the key to getting him through those tough times.
What is that first tool about, Belle?
Arnold's first tool for success is having a clear vision. Now, when Arnold was still living in that small village, he had this bold, almost ridiculous dream of moving to America and becoming a bodybuilding champion. He saw images of bodybuilders in magazines, especially Red Park, who became his hero. In his mind, that was the path to his dream life.
Exactly. And what I find interesting is that, at that time, it was not just about winning trophies for him. He had a crystal clear vision of what his life would look like. He could picture himself standing on stage, holding up a trophy as the winner of Mr. Universe. Then, later, as a famous actor in Hollywood. And remember, this is a kid in Austria with no real connections, no money, and no roadmap to follow. It was just this burning vision.
That is what makes it so powerful. He visualized his future so vividly that it became his reality, and he had structured everything in his life around that vision. Whether it is fueling workouts or learning English, every decision he made was pushing him toward that goal. Arnold says that you need to visualize success as if it were a memory not yet realized, meaning to say that on top of believing you had achieved that success, you need to be feeling that moment exactly. The surroundings, the joy, what others said about you, and what you said to yourself.
This is a piece of solid advice, and it is a reminder to all of us, really. We might not be dreaming of becoming the next Mr. Universe, but whatever our goal is, whether it's like running that marathon, starting a business, or even just improving ourselves, we need that clear picture of where we want to go. It is not enough to just want to succeed. You have to see it, feel it, and let that vision guide your actions every day, just like Arnold did.
Also, he mentioned about wenn schon, then schon. It is a German quote. It isn't just a reminder to do things well if you're going to do them at all, but to live a purposeful life. Now, that brings us to the second tool, which is never think small. This one is pretty much the backbone of everything Arnold has achieved. He does not believe in setting small, safe goals. He's all about thinking as big as possible.
And you can really see this play out in his life. When Arnold got serious about bodybuilding, he was not just thinking that I want to be in great shape or I want to win a local competition. No, he was gunning straight for Mr. Universe, the highest title in bodybuilding. He was not interested in small wins. He only had his eyes on the top prize.
That is such a key point, and it is not just in bodybuilding. Once he conquered that world, he did the same thing in Hollywood. He did not just want to be a bit part actor or side character. He wanted to be a leading man, a blockbuster star. And at that time, having a bodybuilder physique in Hollywood was not seen as a good thing. They told him his body was too big, his accent was too thick, and his name was too strange. But Arnold did not care about any of that. He was thinking bigger than anyone around him could understand.
This is exactly the mindset that separates him from most people. He did not let other people's limitations dictate his goals. I remember hearing that even when he decided to run for governor of California, it was the same thing. Because he had never held public office, but instead of starting small, like running for city council or something, he went straight for one of the most powerful positions in the country. And guess what? He won that.
Yes, Arnold always believed that if you are going to aim for something, you should aim as high as possible. He once said, if you are going to go for it, you might as well go for something big. There is no point in thinking small because small goals do not push you to your limits. That is the whole idea behind this second tool. Set massive goals because even if you fall short, you're still going to land further ahead than if you had played it safe.
And this is such an important lesson for all of us. And Arnold also mentioned this. He said that it is no harder to think big than it is to think small. You can try by just grabbing a piece of paper and pencil. You can write down your vision. Then, after you have written down it, you cross the vision out and write again, but a bigger vision. You actually use the same amount of energy to do that. So, whether we are talking about our careers, fitness, or personal life, it is so easy to set goals that are comfortable. But Arnold shows us that it is those big, seemingly impossible goals that really stretch us and push us to grow. So, we have to stop thinking small and start aiming higher than we think is possible.
Exactly. I mean, why run 10 kilometers when you can aim for 21, right?
Now you are speaking my language.
All right, let's dive into tool three, which is one of my favorites. Work your ass off. And honestly, Arnold is the absolute embodiment of this. There is a quote from him that I love. You cannot climb the ladder of success with your hands in your pockets. This man worked like no one else.
Yes, and I think people sometimes forget just how hard he pushed himself to get where he is. Whether it was bodybuilding, acting, or politics, Arnold's work ethic was insane. Let us take his early days in bodybuilding as an example. While most people were working out maybe an hour a day, Arnold was doing 5 hours a day, 6 days a week. That is like 5 hours of lifting, pushing his body to the absolute limit.
Oh my God, I couldn't imagine this. 5 hours of lifting is like totally crazy. However, he was not just lifting weights. He was studying, learning from other bodybuilders, understanding nutrition, and even working odd jobs to pay for the gym time and food. There is this story where he said that after a workout, when his muscles were screaming and everyone else was exhausted, he would still have a smile on his face because he knew that pain was taking him closer to his goals.
This sounds like crazy, but this is like next level dedication. And what really separates him from most people is that he applied the same work ethic to everything. After bodybuilding career, when he decided to become an actor, he knew his thick Austrian accent and massive frame were going to be obstacles. So, what did he do? He took acting classes, voice coaching, worked on his English, all while still training. And he worked twice as hard because he knew that success in Hollywood would not come easy.
Exactly. And it did not stop there. When he transitioned into politics, it was the same thing. He studied the issues, built connections, and worked tirelessly on his campaign, even though people said he had no chance. So, the lesson here is pretty clear. If you want something, you have to work for it, and you have to be willing to outwork everyone around you.
There's no shortcuts for it. Arnold is a proof that hard work really is the key. And what was inspiring about him is that he was never the most talented in any of the fields he entered. He just outworked everyone else. This is what makes him stand out.
Now, let us move to tool number four, which is sell, sell, sell. Arnold is not just a great bodybuilder and actor, he is an amazing salesman. He knew how to sell himself, his brand, and his ideas to the world.
Precisely. A lot of people don't realize this, but Arnold's ability to market himself was one of his greatest strengths. Take bodybuilding for instance. When Arnold first came to America, bodybuilding was a niche sport. It was not mainstream, and there were a lot of negative stereotypes around it. But Arnold believed in it so much that he worked tirelessly to sell it to the public. He did interviews, made appearances, and basically turned bodybuilding into a legitimate sport in the eyes of the world.
That is absolutely right. And then, when he moved into acting, it was the same story. He knew his physique was seen as a disadvantage in Hollywood. People told him he was too big, his accent was too strong, and his name was too hard to pronounce. But Arnold did not let any of that stop him. He flipped the script and turned his weaknesses into his biggest selling points. He marketed himself as the action star, the larger than life hero that Hollywood had never seen before. That is how the Terminator and Conan the Barbarian became such iconic roles. He sold the idea of Arnold to the public and they bought it.
And let's not forget about politics. When Arnold ran for the governor, he used the same principles. He knew how to communicate his vision and sell himself as the candidate who was not just another politician, but someone who could get things done. He framed himself as a problem solver, a man of action, and it worked very well.
Yes, Arnold always says it does not matter how great your product is or how good you are. If you cannot sell yourself, no one will know about it. And it is not just about literal sales, right? It is about selling your ideas, selling your vision to the people around you. We can all take something from that, whether we are trying to build a career, launch a business, or even just get people on board with a new project.
Definitely. And here's the thing. We are not talking about those pushy salespeople like some real estate or insurance agents who are just trying to get you to buy something so they can hit their sales target. What Arnold did was completely different. It was about believing in what you are offering, whether it is yourself, your skills, or your ideas.
When you genuinely believe in what you're selling and you are passionate about it, that energy resonates with people. Arnold sold bodybuilding to the world. He convinced Hollywood that his larger than life persona could redefine action films. And then he sold California on his vision as governor. He did all that because he had absolute conviction in himself and what he could bring to the table, not because he was trying to meet some quota.
Ultimately, you need to first believe that what you are selling can solve the problem and your solution is one of the best out there.
All right, now let us talk about tool number five, which is shift gears. This one is super important because as much as Arnold is known for his work ethic and selling himself, he also knows when it is time to change direction.
Yes, and that is such an underrated skill. A lot of people get stuck in one path because they are too afraid or too proud to pivot, but not Arnold. When something was not working or when he hit a wall, he shifted gears without hesitation. It is like when he realized his acting career was hitting a bit of a ceiling in the late 1990s. Instead of sticking with the same formula, he transitioned into politics, which no one really saw coming. It was a complete 180-degree change.
Exactly. It takes a lot of self-awareness to do that. Arnold could have easily stayed in Hollywood, but he saw that his impact could be bigger in another arena. And it is not just with his career moves. Even in personal situations, like when he had his heart surgery, he had a setback during what was supposed to be a simple procedure. And instead of getting stuck in that frustration, he shifted his focus to recovery. He directed all his energy into getting back in shape, which is why he was able to return to work faster than the doctors even expected.
That is a huge part of why he has been so successful in different areas of his life. He is not afraid to pivot when the time is right. A lot of us are scared to let go of one thing to try something new, but are not show us that it is sometimes necessary to shift gears to keep progressing.
Daniel, I think your journey is very similar to Arnold's too.
Honestly, this was exactly what I did with my own career. When my financial education company was at its peak, I made the decision to wind it down. Even though my vision was clear at the time, which is to help working professionals to make passive income through the stock market, but over time that vision started to shift. I realized that just having enough money is not the key to living a purposeful life. So I made the choice to start Empowered Liion because I wanted to guide people not just to build wealth, but to live a fulfilling, balanced life. That was my pivot moment, and it was not easy, but it was necessary.
Right, and that can apply to all of us, whether it is in our careers, personal goals, or even our fitness journeys. Sometimes what worked for us before is not going to work forever. You have to be willing to make a change, adapt, and shift gears when the situation calls for it. Arnold always says, do not stay stuck because it is comfortable. Change when you need to, and you will always find a new path forward.
And I think that is something we need to keep in mind as runners as well. Like sometimes we hit plateaus or deal with injuries, and instead of just pushing harder in the same direction, we need to adjust, refocus, and shift gears to keep moving forward. It is all part of the journey.
All right, now let's talk about the tool number six, which is shut your mouth, open your mind. This one is all about staying humble and being open to learning from others, even when you think you know the answers. Arnold's ability to do this has played a huge role in his success.
Absolutely. I love how this tool is about letting go of ego and embracing new ideas. When Arnold first came to Hollywood, he could have easily clung to his bodybuilding fame and refused to change. But instead, he took acting classes, worked on his accent, and learned everything he could about the industry. He listened to directors, fellow actors, and even people who were critical of him. Rather than fighting to fit the mold of what people thought an actor should be, he absorbed all the feedback and used it to create his own niche in the action movie world.
Right, and then there's the famous Terminator story. He was originally offered the role of Kyle Reese, the hero of the movie. But Arnold was fascinated with the character of the Terminator itself. He spent so much time talking to the director, James Cameron, about how to portray the Terminator that Cameron eventually suggested Arnold take the role instead. It was Arnold's openness to different ideas and his willingness to listen that helped create one of the most iconic movie roles for all time.
Exactly. He could have insisted on being the hero, but by keeping an open mind And being willing to pivot, he ended up with a role that defined his career. And this applies to every area of life, not just acting. In his political career, Arnold surrounded himself with experts from both sides of the aisle, listening to different perspectives that he could make informed decisions. He was a Republican, but some of his policies leaned toward the Democrat because he was willing to hear out all viewpoints and make choices that serve the people, not just his party.
It is such a great reminder that no matter how much success you have, there is always room to learn and grow. Sometimes the best opportunities come from unexpected places, but you will miss them if you are not willing to listen or change your perspective.
And in our lives, whether it's running, career, or personal relationships, we have to remember to stay open, be curious, ask questions. It is so easy to think we have it all figured out, but the moment we stop learning, we stop progressing.
And that brings us to seventh tool, break your mirrors. This one is really about shifting focus away from yourself and looking at how you can impact the people around you. Arnold is big on the idea that success is not just about personal achievements. It is about giving back and helping others along that way.
Bell, I think this is one of the most powerful lessons Arnold teaches. He often talks about how people tend to focus too much on themselves, on their own reflection, their own goals, their own success. But real fulfillment comes when you stop looking in the mirror and start looking at the bigger picture, your community, your family, the world around you.
And Arnold always makes it clear that he didn't get to where he is alone. He credits a lot of his success to the people who helped him along the way. Whether it is Joe Wider, who brought him to America to give him a platform in bodybuilding, or the directors and producers who believed in him early in his acting career. Arnold recognized that his journey was not a solo one.
And that's why he has been so passionate about giving back. From his work with the Special Olympics to his environmental advocacy, Arnold has always made it to a point to use his platform for something bigger than himself. There's a great story where he volunteered to coach a group of Special Olympics athletes in weightlifting. One of the kids was terrified of the weights, but Arnold worked with him, and by the end of the session, that kid had lifted more than he thought possible. Arnold talks about how the experience gave him more joy than any movie premiere or bodybuilding title ever could.
Exactly. And the story really shows how much he values helping others. It is not just about big public acts of charity, it is about everyday kindness and mentorship too. Arnold is all about leaving a legacy that is not just measured by personal success, but by the positive impact you have on others.
This is exactly why my financial education company held an annual charity tour. Yes, profit is important to the company, but what's more impactful is when we are able to bring joy to the underprivileged people in the society. For them, it is very easy to be happy. Just a visit to an old folks' home or an orphanage and chat to them with your heart, and they will be grateful for it.
I couldn't agree with you more, Daniel. Whether it is mentoring someone at work, supporting a friend through a tough time, or even just being more present with the people around us, breaking the mirrors is about realizing that we are all connected. Success isn't a solo game, it is something we need to build together.
And that's what makes this seventh tool so powerful. Arnold shows us that true success is not just about climbing to the top, but about lifting others up along the way. It is about making sure that your journey positively impacts the world around you.
And that's the beauty of these seven tools. They are not just some abstract concepts or anti-motivational quotes. They are principles that Arnold Schwarzenegger lived by, and they help him achieve incredible success in multiple areas of life. What I love most is that these tools can apply to anyone, no matter what your goal is. Whether you are aiming for the next marathon, growing your career, or just becoming a better version of yourself, these principles are universal.
Exactly. And Arnold's journey shows us that success is not something that happens overnight or by chance. It takes a clear vision, the willingness to work harder than anyone else, and the courage to pivot when necessary. And like we talked about, it is also about selling your ideas, staying humble enough to keep learning, and most importantly, breaking your mirrors to lift others up.
I think that is a very powerful takeaway. This idea that success is not just about what we achieve for ourselves, but how we use that success to make a positive impact on others. It is easy to get caught up in the race, but at the end of the day, it is the people we help and the legacy we leave that really matters.
Totally. So, whether you are just starting out on your journey or you are already deep into it, take a moment to think about which of these tools you can apply in your own life. Maybe it's time to get clear on your vision, or maybe it's time to shift gears and try something new. Wherever you are, just remember, if Arnold can go from a small village in Austria to conquering the world stage, then there is no limit to what you can do with the right mindset and hard work.
Could not have said it better. And remember, it is not about perfection, it is about progress. So let's keep running, keep learning, and keep breaking those mirrors along the way.
So what's next for you, Belle? Are you officially signed up for that half marathon now?
You better believe it. After today's talk, I'm more motivated than ever. And who knows, maybe I'll be gunning for the full marathon sooner than I thought.
I love it. Well, I'm here to push you all the way. And for everyone listening, before we go, if you are feeling stuck in your job or wondering if it is time for a change, we have got something for you. Check out our Stay or Slay quiz at www.empoweredlion.com/s. It is a great tool to help you figure out if you should stay in your current position or if it is time to leave and transform your career. It only takes a few minutes and can give you some real clarity.
Sometimes all we need is that little nudge to figure out what is next. So go check it out. And as always, keep pushing forward in your journey. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Future Builder podcast. Stay tuned. Bye.
Career mixed with spirit. No limits, no, you can't fear it. Joyful work, we're seeing. Living truths, no more dreaming.